Welcome to Striking Options, the show that reveals the options you have to better navigate markets. I'm Jeff Kilburn, and we've adjusted our show until we can get back into the studio. I'm joined today by Scott Bauer. Welcome, Scott. How you doing today?
Great. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing well. Pretty interesting week, getting deeper and deeper into earnings season. But Scott, I want to discuss two topics today. I want to touch the Russell 2000, but I also want to talk about silver. But let's start with the Russell 2000. It's been an interesting dispersion. You look at the NASDAQ 100, that's actually positive today in 2020, and then you look at the Russell 2000, the laggard of all the indices. So my question to you, certainly we're seeing the small caps, they're bearing the brunt of the economic hit due to COVID-19, the coronavirus. But is there a dispersion opportunity? Will you see the Russell 2000 get off the mat?
Well, they certainly have a lot of room to make up versus the other major indices, and much of that really depends on when, not if, but when the economy starts getting along again and things start reopening. The Russell probably looks to have a very nice upside compared to the other indices if and when we get going again here.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see the Russell 2000 down over 20% year to date when you see the Nasdaq 100 now positive and the S&P 500 kind of working its way back into negative double digits, down about 9% year to date. So we will see if the Russell 2000, but these companies inside the Russell 2000, will there be consolidation inside of this space because of all the havoc and carnage due to these smaller companies and the capitalization of these small caps?
There is a lot of thought to that, and we see in the news cycle all the time about some potential consolidation, and if that happens, that could actually be more upside for the small caps.
Interesting, a potential upside catalyst. Great stuff, Scott. But let's shift gear for a second. I want to get into the precious metals, and I want to talk about, is it time for high-ho silver or is it high-no silver? It's interesting to see the price of silver, Scott. We look at late February, it was above $19. And then in end of March, it was under $12. So will silver find its leg? Because historically, there's always been a correlation between gold and silver, gold being the big brother, but that's really been dislocated on a year-to-date and a one-year perspective.
Absolutely, and that correlation has held, for a very, very long time, and that ratio actually got to a point of about 100 to 1 or so, with silver really lagging behind. And at some point here, I think that dispersion that you just alluded to, Jeff, will kind of come back into historical line here. But much of that, again, probably depends on how fast, how quickly is the economy going to get back to somewhat normalcy here. And it probably more depends on the price of gold here than it does really on the appreciation potentially in silver.
So interesting. So to put you on the spot here, the potential catalyst for the upside move in silver is more demand driven, where gold, the big brother of the precious metals, is more of a safe haven as we have uncertainty on the horizon.
I would agree with that, and I think that's what the trend has been over the last 6 to 9 months.
When it's really interesting, you can utilize silver futures, gold futures, and you have the opportunity to access these markets, nearly 24 hours a day. And as these markets move, there are these overnight potential. So utilizing the futures market could be a nice little addition to your toolbox here, Scott, correct?
No doubt about it.
All right. Well, Scott, thanks as always for coming on. We want to thank you for tuning in to Striking Options. Please tune in every week as we'll continue to strike options.